All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're totally decoding the hidden psychological patterns of high intelligence, quiet discipline, and absolute self-control. If you've ever felt like your daily habits, or just the way you interact with the world, make you kind of the odd one out, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to unpack the fascinating science behind how the most capable minds actually operate.
Let's just jump right in. What if your weirdest quirks, like overthinking absolutely everything, or craving alone time, or actively dodging loud crowds, are actually massive green flags for a highly capable brain? I mean, society is always telling us to, be louder, stop overthinking, and get out there more. But modern psychology paints a completely different picture. Today, we're going to explore how these so-called quirks are actually advanced psychological tools.
To really get this, we're going to break this intelligent mind down into three core pillars. First, Pillar 1, the inner workings. Then, Pillar 2, the social filter. And finally, Pillar 3, the execution engine.
So kicking things off with Pillar 1, the inner workings. Now, I love how this reframes overthinking. Normally, we hear that word and immediately think of stress and anxiety, right? But here it's called cognitive reflection, and it's actually a hallmark of complex problem solving. It's that rare ability to just pause, to question your gut instinct and dig a little deeper. It's driven by this productive curiosity rather than just blind panic. You're not just reacting to the world, you're reflecting on it. Honestly, it means your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. Deeply analyzing the environment.
And it goes hand in hand with active observation. Highly intelligent people have this intense intellectual hunger, so they intentionally talk less just to absorb way more. You know that one person in a meeting who's just sitting there quietly taking it all in? Yeah, they aren't zoned out. They're actually processing the subtle tones, the underlying emotions, and the hidden logic that literally everyone else is completely missing because they're too busy trying to get the next word in.
Which brings us to a pretty wild contrast. On one side, you've got intellectual humility. This is where you actually know what you don't know, which basically forces you to keep learning. It's okay to doubt yourself sometimes. It's actually a great thing. But on the flip side, you have the Dunning-Kruger effect. We've all seen this. It's that blinding overconfidence where people with lower ability just drastically overestimate how good they are. For the highly capable mind, humility is the fuel that keeps that intellectual hunger going. All right, moving right along to Pillar 2, the social filter.
So if you avoid loud, chaotic events, it's not because you're antisocial or cold. It's actually a nervous system trait called a low arousal preference. Your body literally performs at its absolute peak in calm environments. It naturally rejects that chaotic overstimulation to protect your emotional intelligence and keep your mind crystal clear. These minds crave space for ideas, They recharge through deep thought and solitude. Definitely not through making small talk or screaming at a TV screen.
And this actually builds a super interesting profile of why some people totally reject passive entertainment. Like, look at this self-focused thinker. They need almost zero external validation. They get their dopamine purely from personal progress. Or the disillusioned realist, experiencing existential detachment. They see right through those repetitive, highly marketed entertainment loops. Then there's the redirected mind. They crave diversified stimulation and complex creative projects. So no, they aren't just bored. Their standards for what's engaging are just sky high.
To put that into perspective, let's compare these two ideas. Most of society runs on vicarious emotion. That's, feeling a rush of excitement through someone else's success, like cheering wildly when a sports team scores. But the intelligent mind? It runs on diversified stimulation. Instead of relying on strangers for a quick rush, it actively redirects that energy. The dopamine hit comes from building something, mastering a new skill, or solving a really complex puzzle. You're trading the illusion of participation for actual, real-world creation. Just consider this mindset for a second. Why would I watch millionaires chase a ball when I'm struggling to chase my own goals? It's brutally honest, right? This type of mind fiercely protects its focus. It knows that pouring massive amounts of emotional energy into someone else's dream gives you literally zero personal return. While a lot of people use entertainment as an escape, the highly intelligent mind uses its time to build its own reality.
Which leads us perfectly into Pillar 3, the execution engine.
Look, we all know motivation is fleeting. It feels amazing in the moment, but it dies out pretty fast. True discipline doesn't even start until motivation is completely dead. That's where automaticity comes in. This is when your habits are basically running on pure autopilot. You don't need emotional hype, you don't need a heavy metal playlist, and you definitely don't need a dopamine rush to get started. The most capable minds never wait to feel ready. They rely on automaticity to just execute, even when nobody's watching and nobody cares.
It's all about taking feelings totally out of the equation. The average person wakes up and asks, well, do I feel like doing this today? But the disciplined mind uses what's called an implementation intention. It's a fixed plan. It's time, so I do it. Boom. That's it. There's no internal negotiation, no making excuses. They've essentially taken all that heavy lifting of decision-making out of the moment and forged it into an ironclad habit.
So how do we actually build this blueprint for true self-control? Step 1, you have to train yourself to act without the dopamine rush. Just do the thing. Step 2, master delayed gratification. Honestly, it's not about denying yourself fun forever. It's just looking at comfort and saying, not now, later, so you can guarantee long-term progress. And step 3, achieve that silent automaticity. If you follow these structural steps, you're not just controlling your calendar, you are literally mastering your own mind.
And a massive part of mastering that mind is the psychology of moving in silence. You'll notice these highly disciplined people absolutely refuse to post about the grind on social media. Why? Because they know the science. Actually announcing your goals tricks your brain into a false sense of achievement. You get this cheap dopamine hit of praise before you've even done the actual work. So they actively choose to stay quiet. They execute without making big announcements, which ironically is exactly why their success looks so effortless to the rest of the world later on.
All right, bringing it all together now. Conclusion: the power of quiet consistency. Real discipline doesn't speak, it just shows up. I love that. Because ultimately, true transformation only happens when discipline stops being this thing you just occasionally do for show or when you feel motivated and actually becomes your permanent identity. It's about knowing who you are, fiercely protecting your inner peace, feeding that intellectual curiosity, and just doing the quiet, unglamorous work day in and day out.
So I want to leave you with this to chew on. If the psychology in this explainer resonated with you today, what quiet steps are you going to take right now to master your own mind? Are you ready to tune out all that noise, trust your deep intellect, and build your very own quiet execution engine? As always, the choice is totally yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.